And it started out as just a little over $4,000 for room and board and tuition. And my niece is actually starting there next year, and you put a 3 in front of that, and that's what it is. And the cost of that's outrageous. She wants to be a teacher. And I think one of the things that we need to invest in is make our commitment to where public service is rewarded. And children who make the commitment to go to college and university and get a college education to go into public service, whether it's teaching, nursing, or police officers, firefighters, even working in local governments, because I know local governments don't always pay as well for the starting people. We should be willing to figure out a way to fund their college educations. And they have to make a commitment. It can't be, it can't be just a gift. They have to earn it. Because the Pell Grant to $5,000 really isn't enough. You really have to be very creative to come up with your solutions on funding education. So good luck with that. Good luck, Ed. Yes, Larry.
I was just thinking, $2 trillion we threw down the rat hole over there to pay for a lot of education and health care, bridges and roads, gas, everything else. But I wanted to say, I was watching Bill Moyers last night. There was a guy on there who just wrote a book about the second Gilded Age, which he thinks we're living in now. But he said, one of the things he said was, a person going to work for General Motors today in the shop, like United Auto Works like we are, makes less money than his grandfather did, adjusted. And that is sad. That's 40 years we have lost ground.
We've lost ground, and policies and labor negotiations have to work in tandem with part of the other part of the economy. And one of the things that I think needs to be pointed out is, we are part of a global economy, and no one will ignore that. But the idea that we find it hard to manufacture goods in this country any longer because people say it's because of the cost of the labor deals. It's not that. The labor deals are there to protect our workers and their security and their strength. The idea that we have ignored the cost of health care in this country is probably the biggest problem both parties face. And it is going to be a challenge, and it will be hotly debated, and it will be heavily lobbied. And I want to work for universal coverage, and I want to work for affordable, quality health care. I talked to a doctor last night at a fundraiser I had, and he said, I want to form a committee to help you, because the doctors want universal health care. You know that there are a shrinking number of general practice doctors out in this part of the state. We are going to see more slippage because of the way the medical system works unless we change that. And then, perhaps, we can go from being the people that pay the highest for health insurance to, we want to be the best, but we don't have to pay the most. We have wonderful facilities even in this state, and we're very fortunate. But the farther away you go, the more difficult it is to access that health care. So rather than punish the unions, which is what's happened, we say, one of the things we also talk about is how much the cost of a car goes into health care, as if that's the enemy. No, universal health care is what we believe in as a country. It's energy. Think of how much energy the cost is greater per car to fuel up that power plant, to run that plant.
But it's also, and here again he's got the $1,800 roughly that goes into the price of a car for health care in the United States. It's unfair because we're the only country that pays that. You buy the same car made in Canada, they're not paying that. You buy it made in Germany, Switzerland, or Sweden, or Japan, they're not, their companies, Nissan and Toyota and those people are not paying that. So they have an unfair advantage over us.
Sure.
Starting right out.
Sure.
And till we get some relief, there's nothing we can do about it.
And I think we also have to be cognizant that the CEOs and boards at the large automakers are strategic in their actions. You know, the plant closing in Janesville, Wisconsin is an interesting example for me, because I know somebody from Janesville, and they're closing the plant down. They said, well, the American consumer isn't buying the big truck that's manufactured here anymore. So they're going to close that down, and they're going to move somewhere to Ohio or Indiana. They're going to open up a new plant. Well, that means everybody there, they get left out in the cold. They get to start a new negotiation that'll favor the business side rather than the employee side. We watch these strategic moves, and you know, anybody worth their weight in salt could have figured out that the American consumer was going to figure this big car and truck thing out. And I'm no engineer, but I think we could probably figure out how to retool those plants to manufacture a different automobile and keep those workers gainfully employed. We tend to just throw. Americans are great disposers, you know. We buy something, we get done with it, we throw it away. We have to think about reuses, which is, you know, I thought of this yesterday. We were talking about, you know, you've heard me pitch this idea of a biofuels refinery out here in Western Maryland, and a non-corn-based biofuels refinery that gives us the opportunity to use switchgrasses or the refuse from farms or algae, you know, pond scum. I love that idea. But with the possibility of Anheuser-Busch going to a foreign national company, it's possible that they will be selling out some of their facilities. A beer manufacturing facility was one of the properties converted, I think it was Rhode Island, to become a biofuels refinery. So we have to keep our eyes open for these opportunities because I think it's a great way to create jobs. But that's one of the reasons I think an economic development specialist in the congressional office is so essential, just like I did in the city of Frederick. You know, that's why MedImmune was able to do part of their expansion. Not the only reason, but part of the reason, because the city of Frederick partnered with the county and the state. We didn't get a whole lot of help from Congressman Bartlett's office. EP Solar, the same thing. I understand how we have to all work together. So having someone in the congressional office that can also pitch in and help the local governments and the local businesses expand the job base is essential to our success out here. The idea of losing jobs to Mexico is bad enough. You know, we're losing manufacturing jobs, and not just in Mexico, but everywhere. But losing some of these distribution jobs, some of these warehouse jobs that absolutely have to be in this region, losing them to Pennsylvania just breaks my heart, because that means Roscoe isn't fighting hard enough for us. That means he's not in touch. And I'll fight for every job. People know that about me. I'll fight for what's in the best interest of our community. And trust me, I'll arm wrestle with anybody in Pennsylvania or Virginia or West Virginia who wants to snooker us.
Yeah, one of the things that I've found out that's startling, and like when kids are on the CHIP program, you know, the health care for people that can't afford health care for their children, they end up when they graduate school, and then they'll get a job to start, you know, building up some money so they can go to college. Well, then they'll be 19 or 19 and a half and go to college, and they don't have any health care. And you've got a bunch of kids now in college that if they get sick, and it's still treatable, they got to quit school to go ahead and take care, try to find some way to get treated for their illnesses. Well, you know, and a lot of those kids are kids of our veterans that fought this stupid war over in Iraq, and it just does not seem fair. And then you've got Roscoe and people like that voting against the health care programs for children.
You make a great point about health care and how we have to fix it. And as we talked about previously, I don't think it's going to happen in one fell swoop. I think you phase in the improvements. The state of Maryland has been aggressive. I think it's important that we follow that model and have the opportunity for 18 to 24-year-olds buy into their parents and stay on their parents' health insurance if they have it. You know, there's obviously 1 in 6 of us in this country who don't have health insurance. But the opportunities, and you know it as well as I do, that the biggest number of uninsured are those young people. Because why? They're invincible, right? But there are things that befall them